Audio, right?
Only audio,
Cool.
yes. Good morning, everybody. I guess it's afternoon for Aviv and Iran.
Mm,
Uh, or is it even evening now? One of the two. You guys are you get UK based for
UK,
both of
yep.
you? Okay. My guests today on 22 panels are Aviv Or and Eran Aviram. Hey, hey.
Hello.
And they just released their book. Be great if I actually had it in my head rather than like had to go open it and look at it. When do you want to introduce your book while I'm struggling?
So, the book is Crystal Heart. Uh,
That's the word I was looking for.
yes.
Crystal Hart from Dark Horse Comics. Who wants to give me the front counter pitch?
So Crystal Heart is so the front counter page is if I'm selling it at a comic book store, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing I would ask is, are you familiar with role-playing games?
I am mildly
Okay.
so.
So, Crystal Heart is about four friends who are role-playing a game in an original setting where everyone's heart is made of stone, and special agents, player characters, remove their own hearts and replace them with crystals that they find lying around in the world. And those crystals give them special abilities, kind of like superpowers, but they also change their personality in all kinds of weird and unexpected ways. And the story follows both what happens in the story that they're telling together, uh, but also what happens around the table. Because as we know, role-playing games are just the fact that we're letting a bunch of dice decide some of the things that happen, and there are rules to form the story. It creates a lot of fun and funny things around the table itself. So in the comics, you can see both, you know, the story itself with all the heroics and the adventure and the magic and mystery and the fun stuff that happens around the table.
That, that's a very well succinctly put, and you accomplish it well. I noticed I've seen comics along these lines before, or at least parts of comics. Um, Matt Rosenberg and Tyler Boss started out each chapter of four kids walk into a bank with some sort of play, whether it was a role-playing game or kids playing video games together. But like what you did that I don't think I've seen before is really mix the table and the gameplay, both in terms of having both on the page, but occasionally by trying to come up with the correct word,
We
having
call it
like
Superimposing?
overlapping.
well,
Overimposing, yeah, yeah, yeah.
superimposing. There we go.
Yeah.
Superimposing the game character on the real world character, um, to emphasize what's going on. Um,
That's
yeah,
that's one of the tools, um, or features, I don't know how to call it, that we kind of found very early on before we even started Crystal Heart. We did a comic previous to it that we'll maybe discuss a bit later. Um, but we found this tool to, so just for people listening at home, um, occasionally you would see the characters sitting around the table mid-game. And if you've ever played a role-playing game, you know that sometimes you talk as the player. I'm going to roll a die. Oh, I got a 20. That's fun. And sometimes you speak as your character, as the character that you play. And some people, when they do that, their voice changes, their accent changes, their demeanor change. Like it shows that you are not speaking as yourself, you're speaking as a character. So we have a way to show that in the comic, where when one of the people around the table speak as their in-game character, we kind of draw the story character around them, give them some of the features of that character in a specific color that relates to that character. And then you know, oh, it's not Rotem, the player speaking, it's the character that she plays, Muna, that is currently speaking.
Right.
It's very difficult to talk about characters playing characters where they're all characters, they're all made up.
I mean, again, we've done 12 sessions of die on this podcast after having gone through the book by Kieran
Mm.
Gillen and Stephanie Hans. So at least our longtime listeners, hi Mom, hi Adam, um, have some experience like figuring out how to understand what we're saying.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, my first, and it's probably the obvious question, particularly because you call it a real play, but you're showing the dice rolls. Did you make your decisions based on dice rolls? Did you play the game and write it as you go, or did you have an idea and fudge the dice because you wanted to write a story?
This is like the classic question,
Yeah,
which we get a lot because it sort of makes sense that it would be, I mean, it's a game. We show them
right,
playing. Wasn't it just a game that we played and then recorded?
right,
No. It started out as actually a game that we actually
right.
sat down to create. It took 10 years from the moment we created the game, and we only played like 5 sessions. Uh, Something like 10 years, even more, until the day we decided to make a long form comics. And then we said, let's use this one. Let's use
Okay.
this idea, this concept that we already know works as an interesting role-playing game world. And then we sat down and created the story
Okay.
because it's a story. It's a comics first and
Right.
foremost. It's a comics about a game. It's not a game that created a comics.
That's reasonable, but it would have been equally reasonable the other way, just harder.
I mean, I don't want the dice to actually dictate to me what
Right.
is going on in my
I
story.
get that.
It's tricky. I do want them to surprise the reader, and sometimes they
Right.
surprise me as well. Sometimes when I'm
Right.
not sure what would happen, I didn't literally roll a dice, right, as a writer,
Okay.
but I said, what would happen now that would have surprised me around the table if it would have happened
If it
because
would
of
have happened.
rules, because of dice, because of whatever. And
Right.
that's where the story went, because we do want to tell a story about people actually playing a game, and this is the sort of thing that happens in a game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So tell me about the system because I don't know this system. Um,
Very quickly, it's
yeah.
called Savage Worlds. We really like it. It's way more popular in the US than it is in the UK, actually. Most of our audience, I think, is from the US as well.
Okay.
And it's very simple as a system. As a system goes, you have dice. It's a role-playing games. Obviously, you have dice,
Right.
and your character has attributes and skills. Any of them is a die. So, for example, if you have agility, it can be D4, which is not a lot. It can be
Right.
D12, which is like Olympic level. And whenever you try to do something, you roll the die. If you got a 4 above, you did it, basically speaking. Obviously, it goes way beyond that,
Right. Right.
but that's the basics. And it's really
Yeah.
simple and it's really straightforward and it works well for our purposes because we don't actually want to get into super duper extra long tactical fights with hit points and the like.
Right. No, I tend towards the less crunchy games myself. That's one of the reasons why when Phil, who will be joining us shortly, asked about like playing die, I went, "Oh, this seems incredibly non-crunchy," and just yes, please.
Die sort of cheats by giving each player a die, a single
Right,
die.
right.
That's
And other six-sided die, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, but I think the last session we played, I didn't have to roll my dice at all.
Mm.
Which I think somebody did, but like we just wound up bouncing around and didn't do specific dice rolls, which is just as much fun for me. Like I know that as a role player, and I have limited experience, one of the frustrations is when you can't do the thing you want to, or
I would say that the issue would be with playing the wrong system then,
Yeah.
because there are systems. I should give a disclaimer first. I work in the field. I am an editor of role-playing games in my day-to-day life, and I'm going to bring an example from a game that I've worked on called Legend in the
Okay.
Mist. And in that game, for example,
Plug the hell out of your games too. You're welcome to.
so Legend in the Mist is the latest one in a series that began with City of Mist, and the main concept of them, they are all built on like an engine called, these days less so, but originally an engine called Apocalypse Engine, which is like a whole line of, I would say, completely different um, philosophy, gaming philosophy, compared, for example, D&D. In D&D and in Savage Worlds, you roll, and as we said, you press a number, you succeeded, great, you didn't succeed, you failed, and if you failed, nothing happens. And that's annoying a lot of the time. It can be incredibly annoying if it happens several times in a row. And why am I here? The dice are just not on my favor. Nothing is happening. The story is not only is it not going my way, it just isn't going anywhere. I'm
Right.
just cruising along. So in Legend in the Mist, for example, that cannot happen because if you did not succeed, first of all, you did not necessarily fail, which is interesting, and also you get consequences. Something happens. It can happen to you, but you are still in the story. Something still
Okay.
happened to you. And that's really interesting. And I would highly recommend that sort of philosophy as playstyle.
Yeah.
It absolutely did not work for our comics because we want the very simple, straightforward idea that everyone gets. You pass the number, you make it. You didn't pass the number, you didn't make it.
Right.
We didn't want the system, the rules, to tell the story for us, which is what the whole point of Legend in the Mist is like the system really helps as being a storyteller. We don't want it. We want to tell the story. So we had to use something simple and straightforward and potentially annoying, which I think happens probably
Uh,
somewhere in the book.
and also the fact that Savage Worlds does have all these different dice and cards and bennies, which are these like poker chips that you can use to roll again or to get all kinds of other bonuses to the game. They're all visual elements, which are great when you do a comics, which is a visual
Right.
medium. So that definitely worked in our favor.
It gave something for the players around the table to do. We
Yep.
could show them doing stuff or caring about stuff or holding stuff or actually doing interesting stuff, not just sitting and talking, which is
Hmm.
most of our
So,
campaigns.
so were you clearly picked this game, but is it also licensed? Is it from your company, Iran, or
No, okay,
how
so
did
it's definitely licensed. It's
right,
licensed to Pinnacle Entertainment Group, who are not my company.
right,
Um, we started by, Aviv, you'll remind me, but I think we've just chosen Savage Worlds because we liked it and we
Hmm.
decided that it fits us for all the reason we explained. And also it had a fan license that allow anyone to do stuff for Savage World under specific conditions. And we
right.
started, and like 15 minutes after we started, after we published or something like that, very, very quickly, like in a few weeks probably, they contacted us and offered us to become an ACE, which is what they call a specific class of companies that are allowed more. They have a bigger license.
Okay,
We can do way more. And they said, just to be sure, just to be clear, and because we really like what you're doing, let's not go with the fan. Let's make you an ace. Then everything is covered, legalese wise. You can just continue on explaining the rules in your book. That's fine. Best of luck. We love it that you tell other people about our game and teach them how to play it. So yeah.
that's a fortuitous way for things to work out to start
Very much
from.
so.
Hey,
That's
we feel like doing this too. Oh, you can do it and you're cool with it. And that means that you can eventually go to Dark Horse rather than just having it up free on the internet or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah,
That's Aviv. Go to Dark Horse.
yeah,
That's an Aviv thing.
that's the Aviv thing.
Yes.
Well, I mean, since he just said that, how did we take it to Dark Horse?
So I started working with Dark Horse like 3 years ago. Up until then, I'm a freelance illustrator.
Right.
I've been doing illustration work and character design for games and for streams and for things around the tabletop space. And I was a big fan of Critical Role, and Dark Horse are doing a lot of the Critical Role
Right.
things. So I started working on a coloring book that they put out, and then they said, "Hey, would you like to also draw comics about Critical Role?" And I said, "Yes, this is my dream job." Um, so I started working with Dark Horse and it's been great. So when we finished the webcomic and decided that we wanted to find a publisher to work with, that was kind of like our first port of call, basically, because I knew some people. I could say, "Hey, are you maybe interested in a graphic novel that is complete and you can just have a look at it before you decide, and you really not risking anything?" And they said yes, and it's been a real pleasure to work with them. The editor that we worked with, Misha Ger, has just been lovely from the start to the end. Just a wonderful person to work with on this project.
Very nice. Yeah, I've heard good things about them.
Hmm.
Uh, so how did you two get together? Are you longtime pals, gamers together, or just randomly? I mean, because I mean, again, I'm very used to. I can't. I'm trying to think if I've talked to somebody who'd done the webcomic on their own and taken it to a publisher rather than either just the webcomic where it's generally just a writer artist, not a team,
Mm.
or talking to somebody who's already been published. So like they either were put together by an editor or I mean this feels like there's a different story than I'm used to, I guess is what I'm trying to say. As Phil
So
as Phil enters in the room, so we'll say hi to him really quick.
yes, is he in the room with us?
Hey Phil,
Hello.
this is
Hello.
Aviv and Iran,
Hello.
Hi.
and they were about to tell us how they met.
Excellent. I would love to hear that story.
We're gonna hear the meet cute.
We're going to start from the beginning.
So, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Oh, a cat.
Yep,
Okay, sorry,
That's Eddie.
distracted.
that's Eddie.
Eddie, nice. About 20 something years ago, I want to say, we met in the role-playing geeky creator scene in Israel, basically. And Eran actually Eran ran the first tabletop role-playing game I've ever played. It was um, a D&D World of Warcraft game, I think. I played a night elf. I was a badass. It was a great experience. And since then, he's GM'd about 99% of the games I've played, I would say. So that's when we met. And shortly after, Eran was working as a writer and editor in an Israeli online magazine for video games called V Games. And they hired us to draw a webcomic for them, which was wild. I got paid to do a webcomic 20 years ago in Israel. So we started working together, and it's been a pleasure. And since then, we've kind of been finding we've been friends all this time, of course, and we've also tried to find opportunities to work on projects together, specifically comics, because that's what we do well.
Fantastic. So, to get Phil up to speed quickly, um, they picked the system that they thought would make a good comic and started
Mhm.
making a web comic, which relatively quickly the publishers of the system came across and said, "Ooh, we like this. We're giving you
Mhm.
special class rather than being amateur fan writers."
Nice.
So when they finished it, they had the ability to go get it published. Iran also works as you game designer, game editor, or just
Both.
yeah, both. But at a different company from the and see, I'm terrible. I've already forgotten the name of the system.
Is
You're
it
not
Crystal
terrible.
Hearts?
Well, Crystal Hearts is
Crystal Heart
this
is the story, the comic.
right.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
Savage Worlds is the name of the
Savage Worlds.
system
Oh,
that we
Yes.
play it in, and that is created by Pinnacle Entertainment. A lot of
Right.
words that mean nothing on their own. So, you know.
That's funny.
yes. And
Um,
somewhere in the middle, I should note, because it hasn't been so far mentioned, we also actually created a game
Yes.
Excellent.
for Crystal
Very
Hearts
cool.
the Crystal
in
Hearts
Savage
game.
Worlds. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
For Savage Worlds.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Again, because we are an ace and we were allowed to do so,
Hmm.
we didn't have to pay anything for Pinnacle, for example, to do this.
Hmm.
We can just do it. So we did it. And it was a Kickstarter and it was very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, no, Phil's going to be the one that winds up getting us into this and then bringing you back to say, "Hey, we need to play around to this."
Fantastic.
That's how Phil rolls.
A little bit, yeah. I was already curious the differences of if D20 is a or a D&D is more of a D20 system versus we're playing die now, which is my first time playing a game with a dice pool system.
Mm.
So I didn't know if there are any crunchy features you would like to promote system wise, or if focusing on the comic either way.
I think maybe there are like three things that I very quickly can say about Savage Worlds and why it's fun and why it was fun in the comic as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So like the most basic thing is um I know the basic. The first one that comes to mind. Cards for initiative.
Hmm.
You deal cards from a regular deck of
Oh,
cards.
fun.
And you just go through initiative, starting at lowest and going to the highest. Oh, the other way around?
Other
Probably
way
starting at
around.
the highest. Okay,
Yes.
that makes more sense.
All right.
Hmm.
And that sounds completely random because
Hmm.
everyone just get a card. Every round, everyone gets a new card, right? And it just works. For Savage Worlds, it completely works.
Oh,
In
yeah.
Which
D&D,
I actually really liked that too, the initiative changes round by round
Yeah.
rather than
it's
if you're last,
surprising.
you're always
It's
last.
Hmm.
Exactly. It's always interesting. You never know if the enemy
Right.
gets somewhere between you guys. And it looks great
Mm.
in comics because you
Hmm.
can
Yeah.
literally show the cards and you can do
Wow.
stuff and you can hold the card and it's fun and whatever.
Hmm.
So that's a
Right.
thing that is very much also in the spirit of Savage Worlds. Fast, furious fun. Just get a card. That's when you act. You do
Hmm.
the thing on your turn, the end. That's
Hmm.
basically how it is. The other thing that's really great is health, or there's a name for it, but I don't remember what exactly they call it. It's not health because we don't have hit points in Savage Worlds.
Hmm.
It's not about attrition. It's not about how when will I get to 0 hit points, and until that point I'm fine, right?
Hmm.
In D&D, 1 point or 1,000 points are the same. In Savage Worlds, generally speaking, you're up, you're down, or you're off the table.
Hmm.
These are the options. When you're up, you're fine. When you're down, you're shaken. You can't act on your turn unless you can roll a die and you get some bonuses or whatever, and good for you, and whatever. And you're off the table is you get 3 wounds, each of them more terrible than the last because they are cumulative -1 to everything you do, which is
Hmm.
absolutely terrible in a system where 4 is a number you're trying to get to. Even
Yeah.
-1 is like the end of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And that's great. That's great. That's a lot of fun. That's really anxious inducing. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's great.
The Crystal Heart is your variation. So is this something that, I mean, you said you'd been working on it for 10 years, but only played maybe 5 games in it before turning it into a. So where did the Crystal Heart come from? Because I kind of like this conceit.
We do.
Um,
We like it as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Uh,
I hope so.
it's so
I mean,
I
I
don't
hope
think
that you didn't just go, which one do we like the least? Let's write about that.
I mean, okay. I wouldn't say we even walked about it for 10 years. I think it would be more correct to say that once we decided we want to do something, we sort of co recalled Crystal Heart and thought about some other options, but this one was the one that most stood out because it's an interesting premise. And it's all about also, it begins very, it started out as a very, oh, interesting. People have stones for hearts. Oh, you can replace crystals. But that's not actually what the game is about. That's not what the story is about. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, right? But it's 7 chapters, and not all of them are about let's get another crystal. And I think that also I want to mention the actual Crystal Heart setting that we've come up with for the comics is not exactly the one that we did, but it's not because we sat down to work on it over all 10 years. We probably sat down for like 2 weeks before we started and reworked everything to match what we
Mm,
need from an actual comic. The idea started with very vaguely combining like 3 tropes. One of them is Indiana Jones, going into or Lara Croft, whatever, going into ancient tombs and being a colonizer who plumbs them for everything and taking everything. And that's actually a thing. I mean, you are a colonizer. You are coming to take stuff from, and
mm,
it's a point that should be addressed. But it begins as
right.
if this is like the most natural thing and that should be done and whatever. And it
Hmm.
feels correct. And the players, not the characters, the players think that this is a correct thing to do.
Hmm.
The other thing is about the hearts and the stones, right? Where did that come from? It comes from a line of a song in Hebrew about how some stones have the heart of humans and some humans have heart of stone.
Mm,
And it's an old song in Hebrew, and I really liked it. And I brought it to the table when we sat down to speak about, to talk about what is the next campaign we want to play. Well, we want Indiana Jones. Also, how about everyone have hearts of stone? Why? Oh, okay. Because we can replace them with supernatural crystals that give you superpowers, and that's for it's great for 2 reasons. First, it's very anime, which is
mhm,
like the third thing we went for. We wanted it to. We were watching Naruto all the time at the time, so we
mhm,
wanted anime, which is interesting superpowers. And in most shonen anime, every person have a single superpower, have a thing that they do, and they do it and they use it in interesting ways. So we thought that's what we want. We want something like that. But we also need it to be a role-playing game, and in role-playing games, the players need a reason to go around and do stuff. The players need some sort of motivation, so they go around and get more crystals, and they can replace them. And let's make this more interesting. The crystal affects your mind, your brain,
mm,
the way you think. So it's not all just great things. It's also some. mm, there's a price to pay, which is interesting role-playing game-wise. And
yeah.
all of that
Like,
got combined together. We sat down. It's not just me and Aviv. We had 3 other friends sitting down and thinking about all of this and sort of coming up with these basics from which everything has developed.
mhm. So then those are the friends of yours would be characters in the comic, or no? They
Not
didn't.
at all.
No, interesting.
No,
Not
Okay.
so
at all.
yeah, they were collaborators on the very, very early game that we played of Crystal Heart before it was ever we ever imagined it would be anything more than just us around the table playing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, they got a little mention in the start of the book, but they do not appear in it as far as I
Hmm.
remember. I don't think we gave them
Not at
any
all.
NPCs. No.
Not at all. Not even. No. 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 I did send them in the WhatsApp group so they know that I'm still playing with them.
So tell me how you decided on, or tell me about creating your out of game characters.
Mm.
One of the things I like is from a drawing standpoint is you drew them so that I could see them being teenagers, I could see them being college kids. Um, I could see somebody as young as like 14 or as old as 30 looking at them and feeling like they're reading their friends. Was that something that you did intentionally, or was there an audience that you were looking for? And again, just tell me about creating the out of the world characters.
That's interesting. I think that's the power of cartoons, really. So these characters originated, I mentioned it before. Before we started Crystal Heart, we had a run on our website called Up to Four Players, which was a weekly comic strip doing jokes about tabletop games, not even role-playing games, just board games, card games, things like that. And it was um, there's a backstory to that as well. But very, very shortly, it was a reward for a crowdfunding campaign that Eran did with a friend of his because they have a podcast about role-playing games. And one of the things they promised their listeners is that we too will do a comic strip about board games. So we did. And so the concept is we're doing jokes about board games, but we also wanted to make it a bit more personal or a bit like make it more character driven than just pure jokes. So we framed it around there's this couple of people who live in London, UK, and there's another couple of friends who move from Israel to London, UK, and now they can all play games that are up to four players. And this is vaguely and loosely based on Iran and his wife, who've been living here for many years, and myself and my husband, who've moved here about 12 years ago. So these four characters are, again, very vaguely, very loosely, kind of sort of based on us. Um, so I suppose originally they were meant to be sort of 30, 40-year-old people. But having said that, they're also just universally people. They're meant to be geeks who like games and who live in a different city, a different country than the one they were born in. So it's kind of, they were meant to sort of portray just a universal, this is a person. And it doesn't really matter their age, I suppose. Probably not 14. I think if you read the earlier strips, it becomes clear that these people have their own flat and they pay taxes and things like that. But again, that's I think the beauty of um, a very stylized style of cartoons where you design a characters based on their like uh, like features, standout features. And it doesn't like I don't have to do exactly every wrinkle and every white hair to really express how old how old these people are.
Right.
And once we started Crystal Heart, it was supernatural, not supernatural. It was supremely natural for us to just go with these four as the
Yeah.
characters because Aviv already knew how to draw them. Like she could do it by heart and in the middle of sleep. And I knew how to write them. I knew what each of them would do as a player
Hmm.
in the game and how they would speak and what they would want.
Phil, any
Mhm.
role-playing-ish questions before I kind of shift
Mm,
us even more towards comics? Not that we can't
No,
come
that's
back to
okay.
role-playing.
No. It's I'm now intrigued because I was putting together that so the comic is about the four people that play a game, and so you have that layer of a real world people, and then they're playing the game of Savage Worlds of Crystal Heart.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so that's I was it was piecing it together coming in late, um, one of those sorts of things. No, I think so, and those four characters were based on you two and your partners. Okay, so that's definitely very interesting. So then how, I guess, this is definitely tying into the mechanics of the story. So these are real world people who then interact in a fantasy world. Is it like a portal fantasy of some form, or no?
Not at all.
No,
We did
they're
everything
playing the
to
game
avoid
around a
that.
table.
Okay,
Yes,
so then
yes.
the game is
Yeah.
just a game in the context of your
We
story.
make
Okay.
it, we made it, we worked very hard actually at times to make sure that this is just a story about regular people playing a game. At
Okay.
times, I don't remember which issue it is, but there's an issue in which they need to finish quickly because they're only like 15 minutes until their end time for
Mhm.
today,
That's
and they
issue
just
two.
had to go home.
Okay.
Okay, great, great.
I got to
We
that.
sh we had we introduced somewhere in the middle adventure cards, which are special cards that you can use in Savage Worlds. You don't have to, and they are really fun because they again introduce some randomness and more power to the players. And the problem is that we decided to introduce specifically the adventure cards that we actually created for Crystal
Oh.
Heart. And the reason that's a problem is the art on them is taken from the comics, which would mean that they are using cards on which there is an art of their specific characters, despite we never mentioned that they created the game based on what they're doing. They just playing a game. So it would be really weird if someone sit down to think about it for a moment, there'll be some fourfold breaking. So we avoided that. We never showed a card with an
Hmm.
art of them on it. Never. There was decisions made just to avoid that thing
Yep.
Okay.
from happening.
So, comics and role playing live very much in the same spaces, but they don't always cross. And there are lots of people who are role players who do a little bit of comics, and lots of people who are comics people who dabble in role playing. So I mean, you guys are clearly role players, and you clearly make comics. Um, but first, like, how would you describe yourself between the two, and then kind of give me your comics journey? When did you start reading? What did you fall in love with? What shaped how you think about comics? What made you want to make comics? That sort of thing.
Who are your
Would you
influences?
mind? Would you mind if I start with it because mine's probably way shorter?
Sure.
Uh, I'm not the one, as you'll see from Aviv's story later. I'm not the one who's always wanted to be a comics creator. Um, I sort of stumbled into it. I love comics. I absolutely admire understanding comics to this day. The classic of that I
Scott
think
McCloud.
anyone should read.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
that I
Oh
think
yeah.
any writer should read. Any role player, GM that wants to create, they should read it as well. I think it's a very important a cornerstone text about how to establish narrative in general and how to show a person, how to convey to a person what you want to deliver through text and art, but I'm obviously the text person.
Mhm.
Um, and that was incredible, and I really liked it. But even before that, I probably read Sandman and Transmetropolitan, which I to this day sort of admire. And I sort of fell
Those are
off.
both incredible comics that it's very, very annoying to me that we can't talk as much about them anymore because of their writers.
Yes, yes, yes. I
We talk
think,
about
well,
their artists.
Mhm.
there's always an issue, of course, of separating the artist from the
Yes.
creation. I think it's really interesting to talk about the creation in reflection of the artist. So there are places I don't want to get into it, but there are places in Sandman where it would be interesting to talk about reflecting on what we know
Yeah.
about Gammon these days.
Mhm.
And that, in my mind, also keeps the text relevant. And it still allows me
Yeah.
to address it.
Uh,
It's
uh,
sort of
uh, uh, there's truth with Transmetropolitan and Ellis as well.
yes,
I haven't managed to get myself to reread it since everything came out because Ellis was too much my favorite writer, and I just like this that the wounds haven't healed enough yet. But even as I was reading some of the stuff, and particularly the women who talked about finding the stories that they told him that they thought that they were just telling him being used
Very
in his
interesting.
work,
I didn't know.
I immediately started going, "Oh my God,
Wow.
this issue,
Yeah.
that issue."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's astounding that, I mean, not to derail us too hard, but no, I had just become a fan of his like maybe 2 years before. It was one with Moon Knight and Injection was how I
Yeah.
kind of got into his work. So yeah, no, it was I didn't know that level of things too, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean that's just a reason to keep
But
reading
but
more
but
comics,
it
keep
is.
finding new favorites. It's a good way to go.
And I will say that Brian Michael Bendis recently called Kelly Thompson the this era's Warren Ellis in terms of being able to write the snappy dialogue that also always moves the story forward, that sort of thing. So this is
I can
my
see that.
plug for my friend Kelly. Go read Black Cloak, go read Birds of Prey.
Interesting. I look forward. Good for him. That's basically it, I think. I always wanted to do interesting things in comics. Generally, what interests me is interesting worlds and interesting um, situations, I think.
Right.
And I could never draw for the life of me. But then I met Aviv, and my life changed.
All right, Aviv.
So
You
my
have the much longer
comics,
story, I'm told.
yeah, well, it's not that long. My comics journey started before I knew that comics was really a thing. There was the 90s animated X-Men show that I was extremely in love with, to the point where I guess all kids, in those days wanted to be an X-Man. And I found myself like accepting the next best thing which was I could at least draw myself as an X-Men, or I could at least draw these cool people, so I have more of them once the episode is over.
Mm.
And after many, many, many weird, wonky attempts, I found a book called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which
Ah.
I'm sure many comic artists can relate to. It was life-changing, um, and it started years of just drawing constantly because, hey, young artists, that's the only way you can get good,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But also not unfortunately because that's the whole
What?
thing.
You mean you can't just put pencil to paper and suddenly be a genius artist?
Hey,
That's what
what do
all
you
of
know?
my students want.
So what everyone
Yeah,
thinks is the trick, but it's not
Why
the trick.
can't I make brilliant websites on day one of web design?
I know it's hard. It's
Uh,
hard. But the journey is part of the process. Or the process is part of the journey or whatever. That's the only way you find what you love to do and how you love to do it.
And
So
your style.
and yeah,
Because
exactly.
that's the other thing is that and I've got another kid that's doing music production class right now, and like they're doing a sampling project, and I keep trying to get him to take smaller and smaller samples, and it's like, but this is the part. I'm like, yes, but right now it's still a Beatles song and a Rolling Stones song, and it
yeah.
needs to be a you song.
Hmm.
This is exactly okay. So at the start of when I was a budding comic artist, I was mad about Joe
Mm.
Madureira. Um,
I'm
I
familiar with his stuff.
drank in his work on X-Men because also for some reason, some weird publisher in Israel decided to translate a run of Spider-Man and X-Men comics, which
Hmm.
was unheard of, and I have no idea why they decided to do this. I'm sure it did not, they were not successful. They must have like closed shop shortly after, but thankfully it was right at the right time, and I got all my Joe Mad fix from that run. Um, and that's who I wanted to be. So I started basically copying Joe Mad, And I was working with a group of people. We were trying to create a comics together. And I remember I did one character design, and one of them with the most experience in the group said, yes, finally, this is an Aviv drawing and not a Joe Mad drawing. And at the time, I was like, yeah, but that's not what I'm trying to do, man. But obviously, after some time, I realized that this is the next step. Like this is how you find your style. Like you said, this is how you get better. You take in all your inspirations and all the things that spark this immense joy in you, and you consume them and let them live in your brain rent free for years. And along with all the other inspirations and experiences and everything else you do in your life, at some point, your
Wait a
lines
minute. You're an
become yours.
artist.
Yeah.
The way I understand it, artists don't have experiences or other things that they do in life. They just sit at their table for 16 hours a day.
No,
This is
you
what
have
Terry Moore
to.
told me.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Terry
Yeah, not
Terry
this one.
Moore Terry Moore's
Not
probably
this one.
sowed enough wild oats to last him a lifetime, you know? Like it's one of those that
No.
no, you don't. I mean, that's
I mean, it was specifically something that he said on air. He's like,
mhm.
I played in bar bands, but when I became a cartoonist full time, people are like, "Oh, do you draw what you experience?" I'm like, "Experience? I've sat at my drawing table for 16 hours a day for the last 30 years. What do you mean experience?"
Okay. Not unrelatable, I
At
suppose.
some point the experience needs to happen. No, while you were talking, while I was listening to you talk about your artistic influence of Joe Madureira, I looked at some of your art on Blue Sky, and I really love how dynamic, like the range of your character designs, running from like darker and more realistic to upbeat and cartoonish. So I thought that was really great, and
That's a
Thank you.
thing. That's
yeah,
a thing.
yeah, it was lovely. I would love to get my hands on this book and tear into it because I would not have guessed, having looked at your art style, that he was an
So,
early influence for you.
Mm.
so I
Yeah,
gave you the PDF.
I haven't had time to read. After
Yeah, I
this, I will
know,
be
but you
digging
weren't
in.
supposed to admit that you hadn't got your
Oh
hands on it. You just
gosh,
didn't.
it's in my digital brain deep.
It may be that like I read chapter one yesterday and went, oh, Phil's gonna love this, and texted him then to make certain that he got involved. And
Okay,
Okay,
as you
okay. So
as you
yesterday on,
mentioned earlier, it's
yeah,
Thanksgiving.
it
yes.
is. I'm running around with in-laws, so I darted away to the we're in a like 120-year-old house, and the children's bedroom is clearly haunted. So
Yes.
of course that's the best place to record from.
That's so quaint. I live in a house that's like 130 years old.
Hmm. Oh,
Nice.
nice. That's
UK
fun.
brag.
London. Okay, yeah.
Sure, sure.
I wish I lived in a house that was that old,
Well,
or a house that I designed
Well,
myself, one or the other. That's what I want. And if I designed it myself, it would be all of the wonderful things about a house that old, but with better pipes and central
insulation.
air.
We just
Right.
we need to get you a time machine so that you can design your own house 100 years ago, and then you can have
There you
That
both.
go.
would be awesome. Um, so
So when did you take drawing from a hobby to a career?
Mm.
Sorry to cut you off,
Um,
Ted.
no, that I was looking for a question, so you're in good shape.
so I actually, I don't know if I should. Well, yeah, guess a career is what you make of it. I actually started. I sold my first comic books when I was around 17 or 18, I think. I worked with a friend of mine that I met on like a comics forum back when that's how the internet worked.
Right.
And we worked together on a mini series, like a fantasy mini series that we published in Hebrew in Israel, and then two more books that were kind of a fantastical autobiography of us as comic creators in Israel. But we were like, I was a panther and he was a raccoon, sort of our
Mm,
furry
that's
um,
fun.
personas. Yeah. Um, So that was quite early on, just meeting someone I had a good time working with, who was also called Eran, but it's a different Eran, and it's a weird trend, I guess. I don't know. Um, and then a few years later, I've worked in graphic design for some time, just because it's better money than trying to find work in art. But
What?
then I know it's crazy. But at some point, I
You
decided to
mean
just
there's no
go for
money in
it.
comics? I'm shocked.
I know.
Shocked.
Who would have thought with all the comic book millionaires out there? Um, a few years later, I just decided to make a step into freelance illustration, and I just offered services to whoever character design for various things. And then I think it was about 3 years ago when I was approached by Dark Horse to do my first comic book in the industry proper. And that was very exciting. And that's kind of what I'm doing now.
Excellent. What was that book?
So it was Artagan. I've
Arcade.
been working with Dark Horse on Critical Role coloring books,
Oh,
and they obviously handle all of Critical Role's comics, which there are many. So one of them was a deep dive into Artagan, which is one of my favorite NPCs from Critical Role. It's this chaotic, fey um, demigod, kind of, but not really. Depends on whose word you're taking. And it was uh, truly, like I told Tad earlier, a dream project combining
wonderful.
here. Here's your first foray into the comic industry with a really cool character with a very cool story and also not drawing anything you're not comfortable with. So no cars, no bicycles, no horses, no cityscapes, just lovely forest and fae stuff. It was really lovely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That affected a lot of Crystal Heart as well,
Yes.
obviously.
Oh, so there's no cars, still no horses.
There
Because
is one
No.
car.
there's one car? Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Crystal
Yes.
Heart we have the tank,
Mm.
which is kind of an all terrain, most terrain vehicle that the team of agents use as they roam about the world of the Five Lands. Probably the most challenging thing about designing stuff for Crystal Heart was this tank that I did from various angles. We call it a tank. It's a van.
Sure.
Yeah. But
That's
other than
fun.
that, I think no, nothing.
Well, did you also? I'm flying through the internet and learning the stuff. Did you also do Ghostbusters?
I did, yes.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. That was on
That
my
was
list of
fun.
things to read anyway,
Oh,
but
nice.
but I'm yeah, because Dave Bohr does good work and plays in other people's universes as well, which aren't always the same thing.
Mm.
Um, there are plenty of people that are good at playing in other people's universes and not particularly great on their own, and there are lots of people who are great on their own and not as good at playing in other people's universes. Um, but I actually the one that I want to ask the specific question about, just because I just discovered it and it looks really cool. Singularity 1885 looks like the first time you guys did a comic together.
So it
That
was the
sound right?
first longer form comic that we did together.
Okay.
Yes. Um, I don't even remember how it started. What made us do
We
this?
wanted to do a project. We
Okay.
wanted V Games War was over. We sat down, we said we want to do something together. I came up with the idea. You liked it. We wanted it to be in color. Then we said, no, not going to be in color. Too much work. It's going to be black and white. And then we sort of just created the first one,
Oh
printed
no, I
it,
think.
various copies, not a lot. Um, I come and go. So we only made it the first issue. We
First
sort of
issue.
started working on the second issue. We have some ideas for it, etc. But it never caught really do anything with it. And I'm coming and goes. So Aviv will take it from here.
I mean, it looks cool.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to read it, and if it does, you've got this wonderful pay what you want link,
Hmm.
and I'll pass it around, and maybe we'll have
Lovely.
more people pay you, and you'll go, okay, I'm gonna write a chapter two. Or maybe not. Maybe you've moved on completely and you're much better writers and artists now. It's always weird when you're looking at like the old comics. Some people don't even I know people that like don't even like to name their earliest comics because they're afraid that you'll go find them. And some of
I'm
them are quite good and quite famous now. And it's like, no, no, no. We don't talk about that.
I get that kind. There is one book in my past that I don't think people need to find, but other than that, I'm quite happy with most things. And I think
Yeah.
Singularity turned out really
No, it
good.
looks very nice.
Yeah,
It looks very nice. So
I
I
sometimes
doubt
I
that
go
it falls
back.
into that
Yeah, I go back
category.
to look at the pages and I'm like, how did I do this? How did I have the patience to draw all of Westminster Abbey um, with full detail several times? I'm not doing that again. So that might be an obstacle in getting back to
Now,
Singularity
do
1885.
you work old school or do you do digital?
Digital.
Well,
These
then
days, only
see
digital.
then
Well,
see you don't have to draw
you
Westminster
can't.
Mr. Anime over and over and over again. You can.
But how many? You can't just use the same angle of
Yeah.
Westminster Abbey over
This
and
is
over and over
true,
again.
but you
Hence why,
there are things that you can do.
again,
I'm definitely using tools. Like there
mhm.
are 3D models of things that I've been using in my work, in an ethical and legal way,
Oh yeah,
is
Right.
a big thing.
3D
Um,
modeling is
yeah,
should be normalized.
it's very, very helpful, but I don't just, magically make the model into line art. I still have to actually draw the line art over it.
Yes.
If you look at
Yes.
Ghostbusters, there's a lot of I use a lot of models of things
Right.
because once again, cars, my
Mhm.
my biggest enemy. Um,
And I assume you also didn't fly to New York to be able to just look at buildings. You needed
I
to.
I flew in Google Earth, which was really, really
There you
Oh,
go.
helpful for
There
that
you
project for
wow.
sure. Yeah.
No, my wife does graphic design. She's in school for her degree right now, and so I've seen her. She did a piece that was like an old medieval cathedral, and I
Mm.
think she spent a good 8 or 12 hours drawing all the tiny columns and lines and skeletons onto every
Mhm.
spire. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Isn't
so
isn't
it's
there isn't there a brush to do that?
There are brushes for many things, and I'm very
right.
thankful for people who create them, but there is a
Oh.
limit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need a skeleton cathedral brush where you can just pop up little ones, like
Yeah.
bushes.
No, actually, uh, and I'm gonna describe the process that a friend of mine works in, just because it's the one that I know, and I'm always curious as to. I have a friend who first thing he does on a book, particularly because he's from an animation background, so he's got the animation tools, that sort of thing, is he makes 3D models of all of his rooms
Mm.
Mhm.
and relatively detailed ones so that when it's time to draw the rooms, he can just take the model and adapt it.
Very
And he
smart.
actually will then like draw the action on top of that. And like the last thing he'll do is he'll go back and actually
Hmm.
sketch in the lines from the model, drop the original thing in color.
Mhm.
So I mean, how do you I'm learning more about layers. I'm constantly learning more about how things are done. Talk to me about
Mhm.
how you work, just because
Um, so that's a very
it's a
smart way to
current
work.
fascination.
Uh, What I would do is I would draw the same room from scratch for about 200 pages and then remember to make it in 3D. So I'll have something to work with for the last 20 pages. That's
Oh,
usually my technique. It's not great and I don't recommend it. Um, but there have
you've patented it.
definitely there's definitely been some stuff like not automation, but creating my own brushes and things like that, which in Clip Studio is really easy and very handy to do. All of them, I think I only started to do in chapter 7 of the book. But certainly since then I've been learning. So I'm now when I'm approaching a book like from the first page, or from reading the script, I'm trying to find the places where maybe this would be a good thing to plan ahead to make a little floor plan of it, even if it's not built in 3D completely, at least I have something to refer to and I don't have to flip back to earlier thumbnails or earlier pages to see where exactly did I place the sofa or the wall or whatever it is. Um, and and so there was one project I worked on Midst, the Valorous Farmer. It's another book from Dark Horse. It's a critical role book, but it's from a third person. Um, they have a podcast that's not like the core critical role team, but it's a different group who does it. And they had three separate stories that they like merged into one book, exploring their universe. And their universe exists in kind of a not exactly space, but kind of space. And I was tasked with designing a thing that is a mix between a tractor and a spaceship um, that can travel this sort of space and
Wow.
also harvest moss from um, sheets that are hanging in low gravity surroundings.
Wow.
And yes. So my process for this, if you ask, was panic
Yeah.
for I think about a month and a half, just pure
That's
panic.
it's a good amount of panic. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
See, this is where I gotta jump in. You hooked up with us through Ted Brandt and Rose Stein, and
Yes.
like I totally just heard them.
I
I
mean,
totally understand how you guys.
yep, yep. The kinship is real. Um, but then I basically I went and I learned how to use Blender, just so I can specifically model a very, very basic version of that tractor turned spaceship. Um, so I could play with it and rotate it and see how it looks like from various angles, which my brain just can't imagine on its own. So now I'm definitely trying to make planning and smart planning more of my process from the start rather than wait for the end and then figure out a better way to do things.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to like
No, no,
touch
it's
a sore
you live
spot
and you
there.
learn.
Iran, like particularly with comic writing not being your day job, how do you write your scripts? Are you giving giving Aviv detailed panel breakdowns? Are you writing words and leaving the rest?
It's well, it's true that I write the scripts, but it's really a collaborative effort because
Okay.
Aviv edits them and also tells me what can and cannot be done, and also says stuff like what is on this wall, or this is the first time we see this wall. What is on this wall? Or this sounds like an insane establishing shot. Let's not do that establishing shot. Let's do something else. Um, and also gave me a list of, we sat down between every issue, sort of. We sat down, and Aviv sat me down and told me, look, I need this and this from you. I need to know this and this. And it would be much better if we, for example, you gave me a page that had enough action in it for like 3 pages. We need to breathe out more room, etc. She gave me the comic stock and the
Okay.
artist stock, and
Right.
that was probably the best education.
Hmm.
Working with an artist so close and just getting from her everything that she needs. That's how I got better.
I will say that
Um,
I've worked with several comics writers since, and like your work, your scripts are on par with professional comics writers that I've worked with. Like I understand your scripts. And obviously there's a lot of it, we've been working together for years, so there's a lot of things we don't need to say to each other because we
yes,
just,
Right.
t
yes,
yes, telepathy is big.
yes.
Um, but yes, like your way of writing and communicating what you need in a page or what you would like to see in a page is great. It's top notch. I think you could be professionally a professional comic writer if you wanted to. But I don't think there's good money in it, so I don't I don't know if you should want to do that.
No, no, thank you.
I mean,
It's
I'm there's sometimes better writing in or better money in the writing because you can do it faster.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's always felt so weird how little I work compared to how much Aviv works. And throughout all the 7 years, we didn't get paid for Crystal Heart. We had a Patreon and we sold some issues, but it's not like any of this ever brought anything close to enough money for my time to say nothing about Aviv's time, which is easily like 12 times how long it took me to do anything. And it was always weird that she agreed to continue to do this. Page after page, an entire A4 page every week in color.
I
Seven
don't know.
years. I don't know. We talked
I
about doing
mean,
another project after this
that
one, and
that's
I don't know how it can. I don't know how. I don't think it can
that
happen.
that sounds like what they call a labor of love.
Yes,
Yeah. Yes,
yes,
100%.
Um,
100%. Yes.
and that makes me that much happier that you guys managed to sell it to Dark Horse and
Hmm.
maybe we'll recoup a little bit of that time and energy. I mean, I don't want to get your
Maybe
hopes
a
too
little bit.
high just because comics are still comics.
Yes.
We'll say
I mean, there's something because we've worked on it for 7 years
Right.
and this is in the past, and
yes,
now we
Right.
just got a nice little sum of money for
exactly.
just doing a bit more work to get it ready for print. So it felt like, woo,
Right.
incredible.
Right.
As long as you don't really think
That's
about the seven
absolutely the way
years.
to think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't. It was still great for both of us, I think,
Yes.
because it allowed us to practice our craft. It allowed us to get in with Savage World guys.
Hmm.
It allowed us to show what we can do to other people.
Right.
Um, it was
And
a good thing.
it 100%. Yeah. I mean, I am so proud of this comic.
Yes, same,
Um,
same.
You
and
should be.
yeah,
It's a very good comic, by the
it's a
way.
very good
It is.
comic.
Also, it's a very good comic.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the fact that it was a web comic meant that we got to show it to people week by week, and we got to hear what they think, and we got to
Yes.
make an audience and see it grow little by little, and people were excited about this thing that we were creating. So I'm not saying, don't pay your artist if you give them good words,
I
but
will very loudly say, pay your
Yes.
artist.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But certainly, if you're doing something as a project of love, as your own baby project, and you get that encouragement from other people reading it and enjoying it, it's a very big thing.
Yeah.
I want to add
I mean,
something on another thing that I just recalled that goes back to what you said about the script writing. Again, Aviv insisted that every page, because it's one per week,
Mm.
not that it stands on its own, but but she had the comic sensibility to say it should be funny on its own and in a satisfying manner. Every page should be its own thing. And that's how we wrote 330 pages. Each of them has to end on something satisfying, either funny or
Hmm.
tense or whatever. And
so just making it harder for yourself
I
is
think
what you're
that
saying.
really helped me be good.
We live in an age where like the comic creators that have made it decide, okay, we're just going straight to graphic novel because I don't want to have to work in 22-page chunks. And here you are talking about working in
One page
one
chunks.
page chunks.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I
No,
don't
I
think we would have survived making it a full graphic novel with no input from
Right,
anyone else. Never.
right. Um, I mean, obviously, going about it in this way is unlikely what happens next. But are you thinking about doing another project together? Are you shopping ideas to publishers? I mean, or are you waiting to see how sales go and keeping your day? I mean, I assume you're keeping your day jobs. If you're not, then they gave you a bigger chunk of change than I would have expected, and hallelujah.
Yeah, no, definitely keeping our day jobs. And speaking of these day jobs, since I'm now doing comics as pretty much my full-time job,
Okay.
it's harder to see myself putting aside 2 days a week to work on a comic that I'm not getting paid for.
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
but then again, I am a little hungry to maybe work on something that is my own creation, that is our own creation. So to answer shortly, we haven't started discussing anything new. There are definitely challenges in starting
Right.
something like this from scratch.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see.
And always best when you can manage to sell it ahead of time.
Yes,
And that's one of the advantages of having this out is now you
that's
have
true.
proof of concept, you have hopefully sooner rather than later proof of sales,
Mm,
etc. Um, this type of book is more prevalent than I would have expected when Critical Role rolled out, what, 6, 7 years ago. Um, there are role-playing games for all ages. There are
yes,
built around real systems, built around systems that only exist in the book themselves. Um, so it's uh definitely a market that has a real base. So
absolutely.
like don't count yourself out. Look into agents. Um, but I think is there anything else that you wanted to plug specifically? Anything that you feel like I missed that you want to say about the book?
No, I think we mentioned the game.
Right. The game
And
is also available. I will toss out, and I'll toss it out again at the end. Up to 4players.com is
yes,
where you can find Crystal Heart the game. It's where you can find the download of the first issue of Singularity. All sorts of fun stuff. Um, so I recommend going there. All right, then we're gonna go to my favorite final question. Unless Phil has anything else. I forgot to ask. Phil
Good,
doesn't
good.
have anything else. My favorite final question. Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules. But something that you love that not enough people around you have experienced and you want them to so that you have more people to discuss it with. I can always tell where people's bookshelves are.
oh, it's really hard, those questions, but I see Eran has an answer. Yes.
I'll give a short one, not necessarily the best thing that ever come to mind, just the one nearest in time. It's called His Majesty the Worm.
Oh, I've
It's a
heard of that.
Oh, good. It's a role-playing game, indie role-playing game. Just won, I think, silver on Silver Annie, and it's which is an award in the role-playing game world, which we were nominated to twice. It's very interesting system. It does a lot of fun things, and I think that more people should check it out. I have started playing in it. It plays a bit more clunky than it looks, but it would, I assume that we will ease into it. and it might be the best dungeon crawler of all time yet. I mean,
Wow.
next version will be better,
Right.
but interesting, very interesting.
It definitely looks
His
interesting.
Majesty the Worm. It
Yeah, I've got
sounds
it pulled up.
weird. It's great.
I,
Weird
I
is my favorite flavor, so
I do love here that it says often ignored subsystems like food, hunger, light, and inventory management are central to play and
Yep.
actually fun.
Yes,
it's a
that is
bold
completely true.
claim.
Yeah.
It's completely true.
It sounds great to me.
So, all right. Aviv, you're on the spot now.
Um, so the first thing that popped in my head was something that I don't know if people can get their hands on these days, but
There are libraries.
true. One of the big influences on me when I started doing comics, when I started reading comics, was a publisher called CrossGen.
Okay.
Um, they were big for like, I don't know, 5 years maybe, and
Something like that.
they crashed and burned and
I
disappeared.
actually feel like somebody got their
Might have. Did they work with Michael
um
Turner? Maybe.
Maybe, I'm
I
not
don't
sure. They had a
remember if
vast
uh
range of
yep,
genres.
their assets have been acquired by Disney and rebranded as a label for Marvel. So
Interesting.
I think that some of their stuff has actually been
Wow.
getting put out in collected editions,
Interesting. I'll look again.
but
I
I'm
have,
not
so my
100%
favorite
certain.
one, the one that left like a mark on my heart was a series called Meridian, which was about a
Ooh.
young girl. All of their books had
Oh, Barbara
like a,
Kessel and Joshua Middleton.
yes,
That's a good.
it was beautiful. As an artist, I'm the thing I notice first in comics is the art rather than the story, and it had beautiful artwork, beautiful colors, and I really like the story as well. All the cross-gen titles had a kind of a connecting theme to them. Um, that there is one character that has like a sigil that gives them
Yep.
powers or something, and they're all connected in this universe. And in Meridian, it was this young girl who gets powers, but then also her evil uncle gets like a um, mirrored kind of powers. So they kind of face off against each other. But there's sky pirates and beautiful environments and magic and adventure, and it's just wonderful and exciting and beautiful. And I've been trying to hunt down. I had the copies of the whole series, and I think I gave them away when I moved to a different country because there's only so many books you can take with you.
Right.
So I'm trying to hunt down anyone selling their old copies, see if I can get my hands on them. So Meridian by CrossGen.
Meridian by CrossGen. Yeah, I hadn't heard CrossGen in a while. I
Mm,
didn't get deep in when they were coming out and kind of regret it because I heard good things later.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm trying to figure out if they are because I found confirmation that they were acquired by Disney Marvel,
Yeah, but
Mhm.
that means very
yeah,
little, really.
but I can't
Yeah.
find confirmation that they've done anything with
Yeah.
them yet.
Yeah, but they were so cool. They just had, when you look around and you see mostly superhero stuff, Marvel and DC and stuff, and then there's a company that says, we're not really doing that. We're only doing other genres, sci-fi and detective and old school fantasy and YA fantasy, and it's just everything was just good and wonderful. And then they closed. So
Mm,
capitalism, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I was already thinking about capitalism because I was thinking about your book and the fact that like we live in societies that want us to have less and less and less and less free time
mm,
because you must be producing or you are wasting oxygen.
Well,
Um,
Just so you
And,
know, in Ireland, they tested successfully and are going to next stage with Universal Basic Income to artists. So
Woohoo!
what's that?
Love Ireland for that.
yes, I was going to say they're slightly better about it in various places in Europe than they are here.
Mm.
But like you can even look at US history, the fact that, one of the reasons that there was so much fascinating art that came out of the 30s and the 40s was that part of the WPA was paying artists, you know. Artists need to eat.
I
That's
can
really
They don't.
attest to
that's
that.
really what it
They
comes
don't.
down to. Artists need to eat. They need to have
Unfortunately, artists cannot photosynthesize yet.
no,
They are working on it.
no, and like yeah. I dream of the world where either A, there was a lot more universal basic income, and therefore people
Hmm.
who wanted to be artists could maybe not live the high life without being able to sell anything or whatnot, but not worry about having a roof over their head or eating or going to the
Yeah,
doctor.
Yep.
Like those, you
it'd be
have those
huge.
three things, and God knows we have the resources for everybody to have those
Oh
three
yeah.
Mm.
things.
Yep.
Then art will start happening at a much greater scale.
Yep.
That's a decent point to end on. Aviv, Iran, thank you so much for having dedicated so much of your time to this really incredible work that I will be finishing. My apologies for not getting it done ahead of time.
Not at all.
I, my dear friend Dennis Kitchen told me I'm supposed to fire my scheduler. I tried to explain to him that I'm the scheduler, and he
Hmm.
told me that heads must roll. Um, but this is how it sometimes gets hard to manage to get all the reading in because like
It's a big book.
interview well that
336
that
pages.
and you're like my third interview since Sunday and Thanksgiving
Yeah.
and
And capitalism again.
right,
Capitalism.
right, work.
Yep.
Sleep. That
um
thing.
only so many hours in the day, and like I should have started earlier. It was denser than I was expecting it to be. Not
Yes.
in a bad way,
No, it
but
sounds like that's what you get from focusing every page as a unit. That's going to be great.
Exactly.
right.
Yes.
But I was expecting it to be a breezier read, and it wasn't, which is often a bad thing, but wasn't. Like I don't.
Good.
Once
Mhm.
I got used to, oh wait, this is I wouldn't have it any other way, but that's also where I had to decide, okay, just enjoy what it is as deep as you can get rather than desperately trying to get through it tonight.
Yeah.
Because, and I told you at the beginning, I woke up way too early, but sometimes when I wake up way too early, my brain's not capable of taking in things.
Yeah, of course.
It's not enough coffee to get him up to 5 a.m. That's too rough a time to think for anyone.
Yeah, it was
Of
actually
course.
4 a.m. that I
Oh,
got up.
oh, yeah, no, that's I don't even want to be mobile for him.
No.
Spreadsheets. I made myself spreadsheets today.
At 4
Mindless.
a.m.?
Yes. This
Wow.
is
Those are
I,
some
I'm
dangerous
autistic.
spreadsheets.
I'm autistic. This is like I manipulate numbers sometimes to relax.
Yeah,
That's
no,
fair.
I
I,
appreciate that.
I took baseball stats and just
Nice,
manipulated them
nice.
and then pumped them into a video game so that I can play with old players that aren't in the video game.
So video games are this. We're just manipulating numbers here, guys.
Right. Right. And I can see that Iran has that too, because he gave me the big thumbs up when I said I just manipulate numbers to relax. I guess that
Never,
would be it. What?
never, not to me, but I appreciate that you know what
Okay.
works for you.
Because I was about to say that would actually probably be a good trait for somebody designing games.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is. Yes.
absolutely.
On the crazy side note, but it's gaming, and I just talked about manipulating baseball stats. Like there is a baseball dice game called Stratomatic that I didn't discover until my 30s. And when I discovered it, I went, oh, this is a lot like the games I wrote myself when I was 10.
Mm.
Wow. I love
But
that for
they've
you.
got a 20-sided die, and I didn't know those existed. I was
Mm.
working with multiples of six
Wow.
Yeah.
Kept you
Yeah.
closer
and
to three.
baseball
Yeah.
cards rather than actually having.
Oh,
Yeah.
fascinating.
So, for 22 panels, this has been Aviv Or and Eran Aviram. Their book is Crystal Heart, out from Dark Horse. There is a game of the same title that you can find at up to 4players.com. And I encourage you to do so because it looks super cool. I already texted it to my brother, and he's told me to remind him. Um, because he's been itching to DM again.
Nice.
So maybe this will be the next one. Um,
Not if I get my hands on them first.
well, no, because you're DMing the die game.
There might be an evil alliance with there might
and
be
and and
maybe
if
two
there
DMs.
wind up being two play live games on 22 panels, then I'm
Hey,
blaming you guys, and like
Awesome.
you'll have to come back as random characters sometime. Um,
love to.
so for Viva or and Aran Avaram, this has been 22 panels. We will see you after the next page.